Namaskar, I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Welcome to Global Scan, your one-stop destination for a roundup of all the major global developments of the week. COVID mitigation efforts record a new high as 90-year-old grandmother from Britain, Margaret Keenan, became the first person in the world to receive the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. Brexit complications surface once again over issues of fishing rights and economic fair play. US President-elect Joe Biden continues to expand his administration with new Secretary of Defense, 5th anniversary of Paris Climate Agreement, election results in Ghana and toned down Nobel Prize ceremony amidst the pandemic. All that and more. First, the top stories. World fights COVID-19. UK becomes the first country in the world to use Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine outside of trial following its rapid clinical approval. US President-elect Joe Biden outlines COVID-19 vaccine goal, says 100 million shots in his first 100 days in office. Canada also approves Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. Union Health Minister of India, Dr. Harshvardhan, addresses inter-ministerial meeting on vaccination of South Asia against COVID-19 by the World Bank through video conferencing. Says effective planning and strategic management has enabled India to keep its cases per million at 7,078 against the global average of 8,883. India and Nepal decide to open flights under bilateral air bubbles agreement. India had earlier proposed to Nepal regarding the reopening of the flights during the recent visit of Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla. Nobel Laureates receive prizes at home amid the pandemic. Nobel Laureates in physics, chemistry, medicine, literature and economic sciences received their awards in their home countries for the first time since 1956. Former Indian wicketkeeper batsman Parthiv Patel announces his retirement from all forms of cricket. India wins series 2-1. Australia grabs consolation win in the third T20, defeating India by 12 runs at Sydney Cricket Ground. England's cricket tour of South Africa called off after COVID-19 outbreak in England touring party. Now let's begin the show with an update on COVID-19 from across the globe. UK becomes the first country in the world to use COVID vaccine on its citizens. US President Joe Biden puts his team together for a better COVID response, and India's recovery rate from the pandemic has been increasing steadily. Here's more.
US President-elect Joe Biden on December 8 introduced the team to lead his administration's response to the coronavirus pandemic, emphasizing the mass vaccination distribution needed to achieve his goal of 100 million shots in first 100 days in office. Biden said he needed Congress to fully fund vaccine distribution to all corners of the United States, and getting children back to school will be a national priority in first 100 days.
Mask up for 100 days once we take office. 100 days to make a difference. It's not a political statement, it's a patriotic act. It won't be the end of our efforts, but it's a necessary and easy beginning, an easy start. Secondly, this team will help get at the last 100 million COVID-19 vaccine, at least 100 million COVID vaccine shots into the arms of the American people in the first 100 days. 100 million shots in the first 100 days.
Canada on December 9th approved its first COVID-19 vaccine, clearing the way for doses of Pfizer in shots to be delivered and administered across the country as soon as next week. Canada is the third country after Britain and Bahrain to give green light to Pfizer vaccine. The vaccine was approved under an interim accelerated drug review system very similar to US Food and Drug Administration's emergency use authorizations. 90-year-old grandmother from Britain has become the first person in the world to receive Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine outside of a trial following its rapid clinical approval. She received the jab at her local hospital in Coventry, Central England on Tuesday morning. Britain began rolling out COVID-19 vaccine on Tuesday and became first Western country to start vaccinating its general population. But UK health authorities have also warned that people with history of significant allergies should not get the vaccine shot. The warning came after two National Health Service employees both with history of severe allergies, developed reactions after receiving vaccine. India has achieved a significant milestone in its fight against COVID-19. The confirmed cases in 24 hours had fallen below 27,000 on December 8 for first time after nearly 5 months. The new cases were recorded 26,506 last on 10 July 2020. The ongoing trend of contraction of India's total active cases continues. The daily recoveries exceeding the daily new cases have ensured a total net reduction of active caseload. India is reporting more daily recoveries than a daily new cases, and its testing infrastructure has seen a significant boost with 2,220 labs across the country. 19 states and UTs have weekly positivity rate more than the national average. Israel received its first shipment of coronavirus vaccine on December 9, and a distributor predicted the country would have enough for about a quarter of population by the end of the year. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that he would get the first dose of coronavirus vaccine when the country starts immunizing its population on December 27. Global Scan Desk, DD India.
And let's now look at news from Asia. India's Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan on Thursday participated in an insightful World Bank ministerial roundtable discussion on vaccinating South Asia against COVID-19 held via video conferencing, presenting a detailed summary of the proactive, preemptive, graded, whole of the government and society approach to the COVID-19 pandemic undertaken by India. Dr. Harshvardhan said, effective planning and strategic management has enabled India to keep its cases per million at 7,078 as against the global COVID average of 8,883. The fatality rate is 1.45%, well below the global average of 2.29%.
While we are focused on developing a vaccine, we are simultaneously working towards leveraging our efficient and vast vaccine distribution network. We have analyzed our present requirement and are working towards augmenting our capacities, healthcare infrastructure and workforce. Leveraging the existing digital interventions in our immunization programs, India is working at breathtaking speed for building an advanced digital platform called CoWIN, which inter alia will allow citizens to self-register for vaccination, monitor their status and be provided with a QR code-based electronic vaccination certificate.
And India and Nepal have decided to open flights under the bilateral air bubbles arrangement. India had earlier proposed to Nepal regarding the reopening of flights during the recent visit of Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla. It will start with Indians, Nepalese, OCI and PIO card holders of all nationalities and all valid Indian visa holders except tourist visa. Initially, there will be one flight daily from each side between Delhi and Kathmandu. From Indian side, it will be Air India, which in normal times had a daily flight between Delhi and Kathmandu. Air bubble arrangement will follow medical protocols as is being done with other countries, which includes RT-PCR test report of 72 hours prior to travel. India has reiterated its commitment to achieve the targets agreed under Paris Climate Change Agreement. An apex committee has been formed in this regard. Union Minister Prakash Javadekar spoke on the eve of the 5th anniversary of Paris Agreement. He elaborated on how India has a credible record in environment-friendly measures, protection of diverse fauna and flora, reduction of carbon emissions, and a graded shift towards renewable power.
पेरिस एग्रीमेंट में 5 साल पहले 12 तारीख को हमने जो मंजूर किया था वो क्या था? वो ये था कि हमारी एमिशन इंटेंसिटी ऑफ जीडीपी will be reduced by 33 to 35%. This was a huge commitment. And I'm happy to say that we have already achieved 21%. So remaining 12-13% we'll achieve in next 10 years.
Let's now look at news from the Americas. United States President-elect Joe Biden named retired Army General Lloyd Austin to be the Secretary of Defense, who, if confirmed, will become the first African-American to lead the Pentagon. The four-star general was the U.S. commander in Iraq and then the head of U.S. Central Command, covering over all of the Middle East in 2010 to 2016, when Biden was vice president. But he was a surprise choice for Secretary of Defense, bypassing a highly qualified former senior Pentagon civilian official, Michelle Flournoy. The Biden campaign called Austin a trusted and crisis-tested leader who has overseen some of the most complex and impactful operations in the history of the armed services. In California, firefighters attacked a fast-moving blaze in Ventura County on December 7th. The gusty Santa Ana winds were blowing throughout Southern California and into the night, spreading fire in the Ventura County and prompting power shutoffs and red flag warnings in other areas. Southern California utilities cut the power to tens and thousands of customers, warned many others they would be without power in an effort to prevent wildfire ignition from potential wind damage to power lines. The Cornell fire broke out in Santa Paula just before noon and was egged on by the strong Santa Ana winds. A giant experimental rocket built by SpaceX successfully soared 8 miles above the testing facilities in Texas on Wednesday and came back down as planned. However, the rocket crashed into the ground in an enormous plume of flames and smoke. The rocket SN8 did manage to maneuver back to its landing target, but an issue with the rocket's fuel system caused it to make a crash landing. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has tweeted and said scientists got all the data that they needed. Time magazine has named U.S. President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris as 2020's Person of the Year. The two were awarded the Time Person of the Year award for changing the American story and for showing that forces of empathy are greater than the furies of division. Let's now look at developments in Europe. Let's talk about Brexit. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said that UK will fail to strike a post-Brexit trade deal with the EU. Johnson said that firms and people now have to prepare for a no-deal outcome. Johnson and EU's Chief Executive European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen failed to overcome persistent divisions over a dinner in Brussels on Wednesday. However, both sides have given negotiators extra time to seal an agreement and said they would decide the next steps by the end of the week. The European Union and Britain are at loggerheads over fishing rights, economic fair play and dispute settlement, despite months of talks on a new trade deal to keep an estimated $1 trillion of commerce free of tariffs or quotas from 2021. And the very prestigious Nobel Prize ceremony was held this year with rather simplicity due to corona epidemic. Nobel laureates in physics, chemistry, medicine, literature, economic sciences received their awards in their own home countries for the first time since 1956. Nobel Prize in Literature was given to American poet Louis Gluck in an event organized at the laureates' gardens. The winners received their awards from the Swedish diplomat. This year's Nobel Peace Prize has been given by the Nobel Committee to the World Food Programme for their work done to fight starvation and restore peace in the affected areas. Now, usually the ceremonies are held on December 10th on the death anniversary of Swedish industrialist Alfred Nobel, who founded these prestigious awards. And Venice was under water on Tuesday as heavy rain and strong winds pushed into the lagoon city, catching authorities off guard before they could activate the huge flood barriers that were rolled out just 2 months ago. The system of 78 floodgates, known as Mosè, guard the entrance to the Venetian lagoon and are designed to protect the city from tides of up to 3 meters. Now, Venice's St. Mark's Square was underwater after newly installed system of mobile artificial dams failed to activate. The waters drowned St. Mark's Square, the Renaissance city's lowest area, at about 1 meter above sea level, and invaded the famous basilica, as many shopkeepers blocked their entrances with wood panels to keep the water out. In a visual delight for visitors, an ice cave which forms naturally on a high-altitude glacier in Swiss Alps became accessible on Thursday at huge blue vault of the Ice Cathedral in Les Diablerets in Switzerland. The cave has a rounded ceiling made of thick ice about 5 meters high and is about 20 meters long. The site can be reached on foot in 15 minutes from the chairlift at Glacier 3000 above the resort of Les Diablerets. This year, the cave's interior is quite flat, which makes the access rather easy. And news from Africa now. Ghana's President Akufo-Addo has won the second term with a narrow 51% majority over former President John Mahama, who managed to get 47% of the votes. Akufo-Addo has promised to implement a $17 billion program to boost growth in one of West Africa's largest economies. Meanwhile, Ghanaian partied through the night in the capital, Accra, celebrating President Nana Akufo-Addo's re-election, hoping that he would continue his program of growth. Moving on, let's now look at stories of the lesser-known world around us, stories that inspire, stories beyond headlines.
One of the largest Christmas trees in the world was lit up on December 7 in the medieval Italian town of Gubbio, a tradition dating back 40 years in which the entire slope of Mount Ingino is lit up with lights in the shape of a tree. Usually crowds line the streets of the small town to catch a glimpse of the spectacle, but this year it was live-streamed online to discourage people from gathering due to COVID restrictions. This year's tree is 750 meters, 2,460 feet high, 450 meters, 1,476 feet wide, and the lights are connected by over 9,000 meters, 29,527 feet of cables. On the top of the tree and at the summit of the mountain, a star over 1,000 meters, that's 3,280 feet long, sparkles in the night sky. About 1,300 hours of work are required to build the tree, but for Gubbio, the tree is more than a decoration. St. Nicholas is keeping tradition alive and is speaking to children by video conference, as COVID restrictions in Belgium prevent him from seeing them face to face. St. Nicholas Day is celebrated on December 6 in Western Christian countries. In a small room in Western Belgium, a man playing St. Nicholas dons a costume and a beard and takes a plume and spellbook, then connects to the internet and talks to children across the country. He had 125 video conferences on December 5, including one with Charlene and Sasha Kushan, 5 and 3 years old. Charlene asked for a kangaroo toy and Sasha a fire truck. In Belgian law, St. Nicholas travels once a year from Spain on a steamship laden with presents, accompanied by dozens of helpers. Together, children are told that they travel the land for 2 weeks, handing out cookies and presents, finishing with a night of gifts, which children unwrap on December 6. St. Nicholas is also known to pull children's ears when they are naughty. In a ritual steeped in pagan mystery, updated for the coronavirus age, sick people in northern France occasionally leave garments in healing trees, or aubre à loquet, in the hope of a cure, following a tradition that persists since pre-Roman times. Tied to the branches of the healing tree in Hansen, southwest of Lille, surgical masks can be clearly seen among items of clothing. Shoes and splints from leg fractures also hang on the tree. The annual Gingerbread Competition at the Architecture and Design Museum in Stockholm is usually filled with wide-eyed children and adults marveling at the culinary creations of the nation's bakers. But this year, the COVID-19 pandemic has put a spanner in the works, which is reflected in the 2020 theme of distance. Despite being closed, the museum, also known as Arc des, received around 100 entries that the team had 3D scanned and published on their website for everyone to see. Some chose to represent the theme using the coronavirus and state epidemiologist Anders Tegnell, while others illustrated it using lighthouses and the planets in our solar system, Being Sweden, there were also 2 creations that featured teenage climate activist Greta Thunberg. The winners of the various categories will be announced on Facebook on the 20th. Even baubles hanging on Christmas trees can be reminders of the need to protect yourself amid the coronavirus pandemic. In the Siberian city of Krasnoyarsk, one factory making New Year's decorations has issued a collection of hand-painted baubles donning face masks. Each of the baubles has a unique design. The deputy manager of the Biryunsinka bauble factory, Artyom Denisovich, said. Svetlana, a customer of the factory's shop, said buying a mask bauble is a way to keep a memory of 2020 as an unusual year.
And time now for all the action from the world of sports.
Former Indian wicketkeeper batsman Parthiv Patel announced his retirement from all forms of cricket. He remains the youngest wicketkeeper to play Test cricket, having made his debut at 17 years. Australia grabbed a consolation win in the third T20, defeating India by 12 runs at the Sydney Cricket Ground. The win also puts an end to India's winning streak in the shortest format of the game. Virat Kohli and his side have won the T20 International Series 2-1. This series will be followed by a 4-match Test series which begins on 17th December. England's cricket tour of South Africa has been called off after a COVID-19 outbreak in the England touring party. The announcement came after the rearranged first match in the 3-match series was cancelled after 2 members of the England touring party tested positive for the virus. England will return home without having played any of the 3 scheduled one-day internationals. On Wednesday at the age of 64, Rossi was one of the top goal scorers in the sport's history, helped lead Italy to a World Cup title in 1982. During Italy's World Cup run, Rossi scored 6 goals and was awarded the Golden Boot for being the tournament's top goal scorer. Karim Benzema's 2 headers sent Real Madrid into the Champions League knockout stages with victory over Borussia, who also qualified for the last 16. Real started the day in 3rd place and in major danger of their first ever group stage elimination. Benzema's goals from Lucas Vazquez and Rodrigo crosses put Real in control. Mohamed Salah eclipsed Steven Gerrard as Liverpool's top scorer in the Champions League with his double record-breaking goal in a 1-1 draw. The Egypt international struck after just 55 seconds as his 22nd goal in the competition also proved to be the club's fastest. Inter Milan were knocked out of the Champions League in the group stage for the 3rd season in a row on Wednesday after being held to a goalless draw at home by Shakhtar Donetsk, who were also eliminated. Lautaro Martinez rattled the crossbar in the 7th minute of the Group B match, but Inter created few chances after that despite dominating position at a soggy San Siro. Champions League holders Bayern Munich ended the group stage by beating Lokomotiv Moscow to take their unbeaten run to 17 games in the competition. Bayern won all 11 games on the way to lifting the trophy last term and have drawn just 1 group game this season. Manchester United are out of the Champions League after losing to RB Leipzig 2-3 in the final Group H game. The Reds went into the game knowing a point would be enough to seal a place in the knockout phase, but were 2 goals down at the break and fell 3 behind in the second half. Late goals from Bruno Fernandes and Harry Maguire gave United hope, but their luck ultimately ran out and they couldn't find a third. Midfielder Jorengo scored from the spot as Chelsea finished their successful Champions League Group E campaign with a 1-1 draw and a point against Krasnodar. Frank Lampard made 10 changes to the side that defeated Leeds at the weekend. The Blues finished Group E as winners with 14 points from their 6 games. Cristiano Ronaldo scored 2 penalties to take his Champions League goal tally to 134 as Juventus beat a scared Barcelona 3-0 to seal the top spot in Group G. It is Barcelona's first defeat in a group game since 2016. It was Andrea Pirlo's Juventus who came out on top against an out-of-form Barcelona to a finish at the top of Group G. They started the day with a 3-point cushion over Juve but finished second and will be unseeded in next Monday's last 16 draw.
And we now get you all the glitz, glamour and drama from the world of showbiz.
40 years ago, on December 8, 1980, rock superstar John Lennon was shot and killed in New York City. Beatles fans around the world marked 40th anniversary of Lennon's death with flowers, songs, prayers and tributes. A small crowd gathered to celebrate the life and music of John Lennon in New York's Central Park, marked with a permanent plaque that reads, "Imagine." Strawberry Fields is just steps away from the Dakota building in which Lennon lived with wife Yoko Ono, where he was gunned down in 1980. The Beatles released Lennon's composition Strawberry Fields Forever in 1966. With the novel coronavirus pandemic keeping visitors away, the Louvre is organizing an auction to sell Time Up Close with Mona Lisa and a walk along the museum's rooftop with a panoramic view of Eiffel Tower and Notre Dame to help plug a gaping hole in its finances. The online sale, called Bid for Louvre, will see contemporary artworks, donations by luxury brands and experiences auctioned off in aid of the museum's educational projects, including a new studio. The highest bidder will get a chance to witness the annual examination of Leonardo da Vinci's masterpiece, usually only glimpsed over the heads of a crowd thronging the portrait. The announcement of the death of the Black Panther star Chadwick Boseman was the most shared on Twitter worldwide in 2020 and got the most likes of any tweet ever, according to social media platform. The August 28th post by Boseman family saying the actor had died of colon cancer at the age of 43 showed more than 7.5 million likes. US President Donald Trump himself, a prolific user of Twitter, was the person most tweeted about worldwide in 2020, Twitter said, releasing the data of the most shared events on the platform for 2020. He was followed by his Democratic opponent and winner in the November elections, Joe Biden. K-pop group BTS were #1 most tweeted about musicians in the United States for a fourth straight year, reflecting the South Korean boy band's milestones on the US singles charts and successes at the award shows. Global Scan Desk, DD India.
And as we conclude this edition of Global Scan, we leave you some images of this week. Stay safe. Namaskar.